I've got some great news for you. For the first time ever, I'm going to do a live on YouTube. I'm going to respond for 2 hours to your general questions about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, the shared fantasy, healing and recovery following the dissolution of the relationship, and many, many other topics, divorce, custody, general questions for 2 hours, and then 1 hour with members only. I'm going to respond to personal questions and give personal advice, not only general. And all this is going to take place on the Narcissism Summaries YouTube channel. Narcissism Summaries YouTube channel. Google it or go to the description for a link. The live is going to take place on the 5th of January. 5th of January, mark it in your calendar. So, 2 hours, general questions about all these topics, and then another hour, personal advice, members only. This is not on my channel. Pay attention, it's not on my channel. It's on the Narcissism Summaries YouTube channel on January 5th. And I'm not going to repeat it another time. You're going to be there. See you all. I'm Sam Vaknin, and I'm the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited.
Well, however, it pains me to say that I'm a typical narcissist.
Let me teach you a trick in therapy or counseling. Here we go. The narcissist is born as the cutest pilpilon. Cutie pie. He's a baby. Recently, I called 2 people on their disrespectful misbehavior. I drew their attention to the way they're misbehaving. Let's focus on cluster B, because that's my expertise and that's also the main topic of this channel. All cluster B disorders, the erratic or dramatic personality disorders, narcissistic, borderline, histrionic, and antisocial, all of them could be easily described as a single personality disorder, a single clinical entity with overlays. So you would have a single personality disorder with a narcissistic overlay, and then the same personality disorder, but this time with a borderline overlay, or antisocial overlay, or histrionic overlay. And even more, people would transition between these overlays. Today you could be narcissistic, but tomorrow you could definitely be borderline. And the next day, if you are provoked, if you are under big stress, if you anticipate abandonment, if you are anxious, you could become a psychopath. In other words, patients with this single personality disorder would display all the traits and all the behaviors of all the overlays, all of them. And they would switch, they would move between these overlays. Every narcissist is also to some extent antisocial. Ask any spouse of a narcissist. Every borderline is psychopathic. Every histrionic is psychopathic and narcissistic, of course. I mean, these distinctions are artificial. But they're artificial doesn't bother me. What bothers me, they're wrong. And so every single overlay, so you remember there's an underlying personality disorder and it has overlays. And every single overlay in my theory has 3 states: overt or classic, collapsed, and covert. So every single one of these overlays, narcissistic, borderline, psychopathic, histrionic, would have an overt state, overt narcissist, a collapsed state, collapsed narcissist, and a covert state, covert narcissist, each and every one of them. And people would transition between these states. It's not a type. There's no type constancy. But every classic narcissist is sometimes covert and sometimes collapsed, of course. If he fails repeatedly to obtain supply, he becomes collapsed. So people transition between overt and collapse and covert and covert and overt and collapse and covert and overt and collapse and covert. Did I do it fast enough? I can do it even faster. I will show you in another video. And so this transition is the outcome of two external stressors. In other words, patients or people with personality disorder, this single personality disorder, would transition between overlays and between the states in each overlay because of two reasons. And these reasons are stressors. They create anxiety and stress. The first reason is what I call the gap. In narcissism, for example, it would be the grandiosity gap. It's when the reality intrudes, when reality challenges the narrative that underlies the overlay, when reality doesn't let you anymore use your defense mechanisms to fend it off, to reframe it, to rewrite it, to regard it differently, when it's too much, when it's too strong, when it overwhelms you. Reality could be external, but it could be internal. For example, in the case of the borderline, the reality would mostly be the borderline's emotions. Her emotions are dysregulated, so they would take over her. They would overwhelm her. She would drown in her emotions. So this is the gap. And the second reason for these frequent transitions between states and overlays is narcissistic mortification. Now, everyone has narcissistic defenses and traits. Everyone has healthy narcissism. Narcissism is a universal human phenomenon. It's only when it goes out of whack, when it's exaggerated and caricatured, when it's imbued with cognitive deficits such as grandiosity, only then do we talk about a disorder. But otherwise, everyone has narcissism. So narcissistic mortification can happen to anyone and everyone, even a healthy person. But if the person is not healthy, if the person has this underlying personality disorder, the mortification would deliver a blow, a blunt force blow, and would push him from one state to another, from, I don't know, collapse to covert, from overt to collapsed, and would also push him from one overlay to another. Mortification can cause the narcissist to become borderline, and the borderline to become psychopath, as we will discuss a bit later. So today's video, what I want to do is I want to provide you with a map. I want to provide you with checklists. Each and every overlay and state we will discuss today has separate videos on this channel. I dedicated separate videos to each and every one of these. So please go to the search box. It is signified by a magnifying glass. Go to the search box on my YouTube channel and type in. It's like when you use your finger to generate letters on the screen. It's called typing. It's an old art form, now long forgotten. Type in the keywords, and lo and behold, you will get an avalanche of relevant videos. Use this avalanche to your benefit. Click on the videos and watch them. Today is just a summary. So a few things about the covert state. Remember, there are three states: overt, classic, collapsed, and covert. Let's dedicate a few words to the covert state. The covert state, the covert aspires to be overt. The covert state is the state of aspiration, the wish to become classic or overt. The covert narcissist wants to become classic narcissist. The covert narcissist, when he grows up, he wants to emulate his role model, and his role model is Donald Trump, the grandiose, overt, classic, in your face, my way or the highway, take it or leave it, that's the way it is, baby, grandiose narcissist. So coverts aspire to be overts. Second point, coverts are not self-efficacious. They fail. They are the result of failure. Remember, overt, collapse, covert. Covert is the inevitable outcome of collapse, and collapse is a failure. If you're a narcissist, the failure is to obtain narcissistic supply. If you're a psychopath, the failure is to realize your goals. If you are histrionic, the failure is to sexually conquer someone or to tease someone. If you are a borderline, the failure is to ensure the continuous, unmitigated, uninterrupted presence of your intimate partner in a functioning relationship. These are all failures, and they create collapse. And then once the collapse is in, there's a transition to a covert state. So there are always transitions, always, because reality is merciless, absolutely merciless, and pushes you out of your comfort zone repeatedly. So there's always transition from overt to covert, back to overt, back to covert, back to overt. And these are always done via stage of collapse, which follows a stage of gap and mortification. I hope you got the picture. Now let's zero in on some of the types. Covert narcissist. There are like 2 million videos on covert narcissists, and about half of one video is accurate. The rest you can safely hit the delete button. Covert narcissist has been first described by two scholars, the late Cooper, he died 3 weeks ago, and Akhtar in 1989. And here's what they had to say. And what they had to say about covert narcissists is the only thing you should listen to. The rest is rubbish, especially online. So they said the following: the self-concept of the covert narcissist, inferiority, morose self-doubts, marked propensity toward feeling ashamed, fragility, relentless search for glory and power, marked sensitivity to criticism, and realistic setbacks. What about the covert's interpersonal relationships? Inability to genuinely depend on others and trust them, chronic envy of others' talents, possessions, and capacity for deep object relations, capacity to love, lack of regard for generational boundaries, disregard for other people's time, refusal to communicate, passive aggression. What about social adaptation? Nagging aimlessness, shallow vocational commitment, dilettante-like attitude, multiple but superficial interests, chronic boredom, aesthetic taste that is ill-informed and imitative. I don't like this list. And the more I read it, the more I think it's me. I hope Minnie is not listening. Ethics, standards, and ideals. The covert narcissist. Readiness to shift values to gain favor. It's not like the borderline, by the way. The borderline shifts values, but she shifts values, she changes her values from day to day, literally, because she doesn't have an identity, a coherent, cohesive, core identity.